Hi, I'm Kiwi.
And I'm Jarad.
And we are the two gentlemen. Jarad, thanks for coming back over.
Not a problem, mate.
That was great having a chat with you last time.
Yeah. It's awesome being able to, like I said last time, just be able to come back and, reconnect after so long. So,
that's it, man. Reconnecting.
Yeah. So, look, last time we also touched on a lot of things in the episode. One of them was sport. Big part of my life. Was a big part of your life for a long time. We played sport together for majority of our teenage years and maybe early 20s?
Yeah, maybe, just a little bit into the early 20s.
Yep. So, and then you finished. So I went on and played another, well, I'm 40 now. I literally retired last year. So, I played another 15, 20 years after that. And, so obviously we've changed and things have moved on from, where we were 15 years ago. How did, are you happy with finishing up when you did?
No, I'm not.
Do you feel like, you're in the prime of your age to be playing sport? Like you see these guys on TV and see these athletes, even if not on TV, that 20 is the prime, you're just getting your body and you're just, so that's, so obviously you've answered that saying, you're not. Is there anything else, do you feel that is there a what if? Or, you had to retire because of, injuries, essentially. So want to elaborate on that, or is there anything you need to say on that? Because, I don't know what I'd do without this last 15 years of sport. It meant a lot to me. I met my wife through playing sport. I've made a lot of friends through playing sport. Interesting points about all that, but in regards to, now I've finished up, will those friendships continue? But so you've obviously left it alone 15 years ago.
You said a lot there, Jarad. So many different points to cover.
Yep.
But
and commence.
But look, the first point, quite simply, no, I'm not happy with the way things ended, and I know that we all would love to live without any regrets or anything.
Yeah.
But I can honestly say that no, that wasn't the way that anyone would like to go out. So I was 19 and I had a severe concussion.
Yep.
So I still remember the game. Like we talked last week, I said that I gave you a cutout pass, and that was one of my last plays, and you scored in the corner.
I actually think, and correct me if I'm wrong, was it I'm doing rugby terms here, rugby union terms, so apologise if you don't know the game, but I kicked for touch on a penalty, and I think I missed the touch line, and you chased and got concussed from that tackle. Was that?
That's possibly what happened.
I feel like I may have retired you.
Look, I was up against someone a lot bigger than me. I gave away a lot of weight playing football, as you know.
Yep.
Look, I still remember the tackle. I remember the guy running at me. He was a very big guy, and he changed direction and caught me with his hip.
Yep.
And I couldn't even remember where I was the night before. I didn't even remember that I had a girlfriend.
That's scary.
That's how bad it was.
Yeah.
So I was vomiting. I still remember the two St. John's ambulance officers on the sideline.
Yeah.
And they looked at two of our friends, one of them running the water, the other one a player, and they just said to him, "You've got to get him to hospital."
Yeah.
So I still remember going there, getting a brain scan. Everything came out good, fortunately, but the guy running the water, who's one of my closest friends from a long time ago, he said, "You've got to retire."
Yeah, that was it.
And I just realised, So my biggest regrets were that I stopped playing properly. I had too much in my head. I had this thing where I stopped running the ball. I was a really good ball runner.
Yeah.
And I just became this boring ball distributor, and that was my biggest regret. There's little things.
There was no fear in your game.
I think it wasn't about fear. It was about not wanting to be a hog. It was about wanting to be a team player, but I didn't know I didn't know how to do that properly.
Yeah.
And what I brought to the team was my running game.
Yeah.
So to be a team player, you've really got to be yourself. And this doesn't just go for sport. This goes for life.
Well, you're a chain in the link in a team, and you're in there for a reason. So if you start changing that reason and think, well, I don't want to be that person that I'm here for, that weakens the team essentially. But that's years and years of experience of going, well, be yourself.
Yeah,
Be yourself.
I know. And that's not just on the field, but
Yeah.
it's really important that when you play in any sport, it should be an extension of yourself. You should be expressing yourself in one way or another.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
If you're a bit flamboyant and you take risks, that sort of shows on some people. But, some people, the sporting field is, once they cross those lines, they turn into different people. So, whether it be a court, a field, a swimming pool, whatever, that they get that confidence because, like maybe in life, for whatever reason, they're not confident, but as soon as they get that ball in their hand or, racket in their hand or whatever it is, they grow an extra leg.
I disagree with you there. I don't think that people become more confident in that situation. I think that just facilitates a part of themselves.
Yeah.
It allows that to come out.
Yeah, yeah.
That's all.
So
you stick someone in an office environment
yeah.
and they're just going to shrink, right? You stick the same guy in a rugby field, he's going to carve it up.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? And I don't think it's that the football gives him confidence. I think it just allows him to naturally be himself.
Express himself, express herself. And I mean, you see that from, someone who's, so you can see that in styles and physical ways people, show what they can do. But essentially, like, you can see that also in even someone who's quite shy and they get on the field and they're aggressive or they're noisy or they're bossy or they're whatever. They're just, but that's it. Like you said, that's in them. Yep. That confidence playing that sport brings it out. But anyway, yeah.
I think the other thing is sport's also safe for you to bring that out.
Yeah.
There's a beginning, middle and end.
Celebrated even. Yeah.
There's clear parameters, it's just on the field. That's you be that animal just in this tiny little box.
Yeah, yeah.
And people can do that.
Yeah.
It's just when it leaks into real life, people don't know, where can I be me? That's the thing.
Yeah.
So on the field, I can definitely let all that out. So that's why I think it makes
different
it
little.
easy
I just thought of this, and I'm not gonna go off into a little tangent, but it was just funny. I was just watching football last night with my 4-year-old, and the way she described rugby league was they're fighting, and how are they allowed to do that, and it just sort of dawned on me, like, you tell your kids, you can't go and aggressively hit somebody, these guys are doing this within the rules of the game, but to a 4-year-old, that just looks like they're beating each other up. It's just interesting. Like, it just came to me. I know it probably doesn't have any point to what I was saying, but I just thought I'd share that we and also my eldest is playing netball, and she were telling her to, you tell her to be nice in life and do things and look after each other, and she's got a natural ability to care for people. That's her sort of nature. And all of a sudden on netball, you tell them to verse somebody. Like, it's completely against what you've been teaching your kid for the first 7 years of their life, and all of a sudden they've got to be competitive. And I find myself, you've got to go get that ball before that person gets the ball. And I'm like, what am I? She must be confused. She doesn't understand why. She just, Dad telling me to get the ball. And
Yeah.
That's tough.
Look, I think your 4-year-old has absolutely hit the nail on the head. This is they are fighting.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. That's what you and I are so desensitized to that.
Yes.
But what sport is it's a simulation of war and hunting.
Yeah. Yep.
That's exactly what it is.
Yep.
Every sport, you're either fighting for territory, hitting a target,
fighting for possession of something.
Exactly. It's a simulation of war and hunting.
And you're versing somebody.
Exactly. So look, what I'm trying to say is, we can't encourage people every day to treat life as life and death and war, that kids have to compete on every single level. But it's in us. I never really saw it that way until I was an adult, that's what sport is.
Yeah.
And like I was saying, I don't want us to tell kids, you've got to fight for everything in life. That's not what we want. I mean, the reason why we live in a civilization is because we cooperate.
Yeah.
But at the beginning of every single civilization, what did we do? We all raced towards a patch of land. We all fought for it.
Yep. And the victor took the spoils.
Exactly. They got the trophy. And
so what we do is we say during the week, you can only do this war on weekends, on Saturdays.
Weekend warriors. Look, I think it's important to acknowledge that it's part of us. That we all have this competitive streak in us.
Yeah, yeah.
Not everybody.
Yeah, some more than others.
Yeah, absolutely.
But people have different. I think everyone does have the competitive nature about them, but in different aspects. Like some people aren't physically gifted. Is the wrong word, but some people aren't able to aren't great at catching a football or aren't great at hitting a tennis ball or whatever. So the way that they put their competitive nature out there is through learning something different or doing something artistic or doing something, like there's so many avenues that you can follow as a person growing up and as an adult. It doesn't have to be through a sporting arena. But yeah, that's the way I chose, obviously. But, and you obviously chose early in your time to follow the sporting, and obviously you've made that change now. And you've said to me that it's regret. I don't know if that's the right word, or in hindsight, it would have been lovely to keep going.
Look, I didn't have a choice to in that
at that point in time.
Yeah, being severely concussed, I'd made the right decision.
I totally agree. Yeah.
What I wish had been different, not like you can ever change anything in your past, but what I wish had been different was that certain technologies weren't available to me. I got corrective eye laser surgery when I was 27.
Yeah.
And it changed my life.
Yeah.
It really has.
Yeah.
So I couldn't see properly when I was playing rugby.
Wow.
Even with contact lenses in, it's never, it's always a little bit itchy or something.
Yeah.
You worry about one falling out. So that would have been great. Secondly, I didn't go to the gym until I was in my 20s. So
this was all done. For pre-vision and then pre-physical and any physical strength, really.
Exactly.
So you just worked on what you had.
Yeah. So I was, basically playing at 57 kilos, playing rugby against full-grown men.
Yeah. Well, and when it comes to size, I was playing football. I don't remember being under 120 kilos.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
We're sitting here, at a massive difference.
Look how much weight I've given away. Yeah, exactly. And I was tackling guys your size.
You're tackling people like me.
Yeah.
So the game was physical for me.
Yeah.
So, must have been on another planet for you.
But you saw the way I played the game.
Yeah.
I ran hard. I tackled as well as I could. Mm-hmm. I wasn't afraid of anybody. I still remember our team getting in trouble once in under 15s at school. Our coach saying, why did Kiwi take the first hit up? Why would you give the ball to the smallest guy in the field? But to me, it was, you don't say no. This is the challenge.
Yeah.
And this is what I'd, like to pass on to my kids. It's not about whether you win or lose. It's, are you up for the challenge?
Correct. Yeah.
Just go and find out. That's what the field is for.
Yep.
It's this tiny little box that gives you this one opportunity each week. Maybe, you back up, you play 2 games like we did. But you get this one opportunity a week to go into this little box and just go find something out. Mm-hmm. That's all.
Yeah.
And if you don't feel that you match up to this other guy or the whole other team, what are you going to do about it? What's your next step? Are you going to evolve? Or are you going to say, no, you know what? I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
And both options are totally valid.
That's right. Yeah.
Look, I was, like I said, 57 kilos. So no, I wasn't good enough. I wasn't built for this game. So I stepped away.
Yeah.
And that, to me, that's totally fine.
That's fine. And I not that you need my support, but that was the right thing to do, and that's, like I said, I continued to play for another 15 years and, where we sit now, another 20 years and we're here now. So, I'm going to change it a little bit. So we talked a lot about on-field. You've talked previously about, reading a book when you were,
yes,
18. So at the end of your time, your mindset changed a little bit, and you said that you became vegetarian. And I don't ever remember you having a drink in your hand at any stage of your life. So obviously we're playing rugby union. Let's just say you were playing rugby union with a lot of meat eaters and a lot of alcoholics. Maybe not alcoholics, but you binge drinkers.
Yeah.
And I was one of them. Straight away you'd have a few beers and knock down 5 sausage sandwiches after the game. So, you're playing in the same team as these guys. And did you have any? What did you think of us, first of all? And respectfully, obviously you played with us, and you did you respect us? And did you feel uncomfortable being around that scene?
I was totally comfortable.
Yeah.
You were my people.
Yeah.
That's how I felt. I grew up in Blacktown.
Yeah.
Everyone was always good to me at the club from the beginning. Nobody ever made me feel unwelcome, ever. I was actually favoured in some ways. I remember this one time someone ran into our change room after we'd finished a game, and 3rd grade needed an extra player, and one of the heroes from our team straight away stood up, and the guy said, "Oh, they want Kiwi."
Yeah.
I was thinking, wow.
Yeah.
To want the smallest guy on the team, I must have had something to offer. That was really nice, actually. Did a lot for my confidence. But
That's awesome.
I liked everyone in our team.
Yeah.
In the club.
Yeah.
As human beings. And look, we live in a pretty big society. There's room for everybody.
Yeah.
That's the way I've always seen it.
That's the way you looked at it, yeah.
Yeah, and look, there's always the natural ribbing, like when you become vegetarian, people make jokes or that sort of thing. But no one ever disrespected me for not drinking.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I mean, obviously, I never did and never would and still don't. But it's nice to hear that you didn't feel... I mean, I'm not going to say pressured because I don't believe you've ever done anything that you don't want to do. You've always done what you want, essentially. So it's nice to know that, not only myself, I respected that, but there was other, we're talking another 20, or even if you want to go the whole club, 60 other people had, no one gave you a hard time,
and it was the complete opposite as well. They were actually really good to me in every way. And look, men knock each other over stuff. That's just part of the banter. It's part of being, in a group. So that's fine. That never bothered me. But what I really liked is that, we had people from so many different backgrounds. We had 2 guys on our team in Colts that couldn't play on Sundays.
Yeah.
For example, I remember we had to do a makeup game because of rain. Yeah. And, they were like, should I play? Should I not play?
Yeah.
And the decision was completely up to them. There was no pressure on them.
No.
So I really liked that. But being a vegetarian, it is a strange thing in such a, I guess, sausage sizzle sort of culture.
What do they sell raffle tickets for?
Yeah, exactly.
Meat trays.
Exactly. But again, I was never disrespected for that.
Yeah. Cool. No, that's good. I'm glad you felt comfortable. You're doing something you loved, and I'm glad that didn't have a decision. Well, obviously you made your decision because of an injury, but I'm glad that didn't have a
definitely nothing at all. Yeah, in fact, I had a lot of respect for so many people at the club. So many people.
I mean, and it's interesting to touch on things like that. You can walk into... that's one thing that I loved about rugby union. So I played rugby league, and you did too, till we were 17. Yeah. And then we switched, and we went and played under 21s rugby. So we went from playing our own age, and at 17 to 21 is a big... at that level, we went from being 16, 17 years old playing against guys that were 21.
Yeah,
that's huge. That's huge.
Yeah, and most of our team was 17.
Yeah, we're all schoolmates, so we all went to school together. Most of our team. So all of a sudden, but one thing, the difference I found with rugby was, you get into that, you join a club, and all of a sudden, I just touch on it. Then you got 60 mates, 60 new guys that straight away. Whereas rugby league, you were kind of in your own team. Mm-hmm. You played 15, 16, 17 age group I'm talking about, and I barely knew the guy in the age group below or above. Yeah. And that's just the way it was. And then all of a sudden at rugby, it was like, oh, hi, this is the first, I'm there having a drink or sitting down at the schnitzel at the pub with the first grade. And I'm like, this is amazing. So it was, that's one of the things that got me it hooked me in, the sense of belonging, I guess. And
for you, it seemed like, and this goes into our 20s, the social infrastructure provided by rugby seems to be a huge part of your life.
Yeah. It definitely provided something for me straight out of school. Yeah. So, that whole basis of having that friend base there, straight out of school, I don't know. I guess you can be a little bit lost. You think you go to school and you see your friends every day. Then all of a sudden, that's taken away from you, and you realise you take for granted that. And this is just me talking. Everyone's got their own opinion, but you take for granted that I'm just going to see them on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah. So all of a sudden, I'm like, okay, you have to manufacture that. So it's like, okay, let's go play rugby, and then rugby then turned into play at 10:45 on Saturday morning. Yep. And we're still there. We're pretty much Sunday morning still with the same crowd.
Yeah, that's right.
Obviously the drinking culture, that had a big factor on it. And, but you played your footy, and you may have played a second game at that age. You may have got asked to play first grade, second grade, third, whatever. and you did that, and then all of a sudden it was, before you knew it was Sunday morning. So so that was it. That was that was my social life for many years. And yeah, it's an interesting, you felt comfortable in there.
Yeah.
And, do I regret that a little bit? Every Saturday night doing that? Yeah, maybe.
Why would you regret that?
Regret's maybe the wrong word. When I just said it, I probably realised it was the wrong word. But I've made a lot of good friends, as I touched on. I met my wife, like I said. Regret is probably the wrong word, but more in hindsight, looking at it as a 40-year-old man, there was some times I probably didn't need to go out and spend half my paycheck on the Saturday night. Yeah. And if it was a good night, all my pay, I could have been looking at the future, and but this is a 40-year-old man telling the 20-year-old me. Sure. 20-year-old me would have probably slapped me in the face and said, "Oh, I want to go get the bourbon," But it's just, for me, looking back, I probably would have been nice to bring that in a little bit and not be so worried about the party.
Yeah.
We didn't do anything stupid. We just enjoyed the company.
Yeah.
And, like I said, the beers flowed, and, you just ended up hanging with your mates, and mates became like family, because you're on the field, and you know this, and anyone who's played sport know this. You share that kind of thing where, you spill blood together, and you're on the ground together, and you're picking each other up, and then that goes into the night at the pub, and then all of a sudden, you get drinks into you, and, people can do the wrong thing at that stage, I'm lucky, I think I've got my head screwed on, but, I've seen people, get into fights and things like that because they're carrying what they did on the field to the pub or to parties or whatever like that. So, yeah. There was times I felt like maybe I was a bit of a dick by association.
Yeah.
I see some people carrying on like pork chops, and I was there, and I was supporting them because they were my mates.
Yeah, okay, I can understand why you might have some regrets. Overall, would you say you had a good time?
Yes.
Were there times where you were like, I actually don't want to be here?
Later on, in my late 30s, I got to the point, probably the last 5 years, I got to the point where I was like, I'm just doing this out of habit.
Yeah.
It's fine. My recovery, my body is struggling.
Yeah.
But I'm doing this because, and I'll just sort of step. So when I started, we played Colts, which is under 21s. And then by the time I was 18, they let me play Colts and then brought me up to first grade. For a couple of games. So I was playing Colts at 10:45 and the first grade at 3 o'clock. Then the next year, 99, I was playing 2 games a week. That was, so Colts and first grade. That was what I was doing. And then I transitioned into first grade. From then, that was it. So I went through, so when I started, there was all these guys in their late 20s, early 30s that were probably 2 or 3 years off retirement.
Yeah.
And this is park footy. We're not talking professional, right? So they then move on. And then all of a sudden, there was myself and a couple other guys that we went to school with that were doing the same thing as me. And then there was all these new guys that come to the club. And then I played with that batch of guys. And then they all left. And then I'm the only one left. And then so I obviously loved it. And then next thing I know, this whole group of new guys came in. And they all grew up together. So they played a year of Colts and then started playing ones. So then I've got this group of guys that are probably 5 years younger than me. So I'm trying to keep up with them. Yeah. And I did okay. And then all of a sudden they retired and I'm still there.
Yeah.
And then we're where we are essentially 3 or 4 years ago, where I was kind of feeling like, why am I'm doing this out of habit.
Yeah.
My mates are 3 times gone.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of where I felt sometimes a little bit sort of, I probably could have given this away, but I respected the fact that, it played a massive part in my social life. And, like I said, I met my wife.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, I am punching above my weight with her. So she, I don't know what must have been my football playing skills or something. But, she's got me on the straight line there, and she's perfect for me. So, as far as that goes, thank you, rugby union.
Yeah. So it's given you so much in your life, but
Yeah.
maybe you hung on for a tiny bit too long with
Yeah.
some aspects of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the old, my mind is still can play football.
Yeah. Yeah.
The body is
Yeah.
struggling a little bit,
Yeah.
So,
I think that's part of aging as a
yeah.
as a 40-year-old, that
Yeah.
your mind doesn't quite catch up to your body yet.
No. And, like I just got up from the seat upstairs at your place and I needed to unfold. I was sitting too much in the same spot for half an hour. So, all the creaks and things. So it's going to be interesting if 20 years down the track, what I'm going to feel like. But,
That's definitely a consideration I think everyone needs to take.
Yeah. So if you ask me this 20 years down the track, did you regret playing? I probably would have said, I wish I stopped when Kiwi stopped.
Now, Jarad, I really want to go back to a point you made earlier when you said that you were a dick by association.
Yep.
Look, it's been in the news pretty much every off-season, every football season about football player behaviour. It's not just football players, but they're the ones that make the news. Let's just be honest. What is your role as a friend? Are you meant to pull someone in line and tell them that they're being a pork chop, or do you leave grown people to make their own choices?
Yeah. Now, when I say that, I want to say, by saying I'm a dick by association, I want to stress that whoever I was with at that time, I don't believe they're a dick.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying.
And I'm not, I not at all am saying anything like that. What I guess is what the group appears to be to other people around. So I would look, I'll give you two examples. One being, you'd go to usually you go to the same bar, pub, whatever, and you get this sense of ownership because of your sheer numbers. Yeah. So you're almost in a gang, and like I said, you share so much with these guys physically, and you go above and beyond for them on the football field.
Yeah.
So then that carries over. So I look back at that now, I think, what did that look like? What did that look like? What did that look like to the other people who were there? So in that regard, though, like, to answer your question, I'm not gonna pull someone in line at the pub if they're too drunk. I will look after them and make sure they get home. If they're doing something inappropriate that I think's inappropriate, I don't have a problem in grabbing them by the cuff and dragging them back to the table and saying, "Mate, have a water. You need a break."
Sure.
Now, what I find inappropriate is different to what other people find inappropriate. But I think, like, my moral compass is pretty good. I'm pretty happy with where I'm at. The other thing was, like, obviously end of season football trips. So you'd book six. Well, I was going to say 60, but no, that was probably. But you'd book for 30 or 40 people to go to a location on a plane. So I'd do the booking. So I felt like a bit like a father figure to these guys, And like I said, this was at the end of my time. So I had all these younger guys, maybe 5 years younger, and I felt like I couldn't fully, not that I'm a crazy party guy, but I couldn't fully relax until that plane landed in Queensland, for example. Once that plane touched down, I was like, you boys are now on your own.
Yep.
You guys are adults.
Yep.
Don't come and talk to me if, and I say that, like, obviously I'll help someone out, but, like, I'm not going to be your babysitter. But I spent the week before going, making sure they're going to be, because it was a matter of, like, getting a bus for 4 o'clock in the morning to the airport and, the whole logistics of, and then getting them on the plane. And, some of these guys are drinking at 5 o'clock in the morning because they're excited. They're like children. I'm like, man, we've got to get on the plane. Like, they can turn us around at Sydney Airport, So anyway, once we touched down in said location, I was like, you know what, that's you, that you're on your own to a certain degree. Obviously, you'll always help your friend, but so I don't have a problem stepping in that regard.
Yeah.
But dick by association is the fact that I was in that group. So no matter what, like, I'm standing there in the same shirt.
Yeah.
So if that guy's been a moron. There was that bunch of morons, So, and I don't like being that. I don't like being that personally. I'm not like that now. So, I guess that's the point I wanted to make by saying that. So,
Jarad, it's been amazing how different our lives have turned out but on the field, we shared the same thing. We had the same goals on the field, and I loved that.
Yep.
You were talking about where you moved as an adult into your new home, and you talked about, Richmond Road. And I remember driving on that road so many times with you and your dad and your brother as well.
Yeah.
Just going to training and going to our games. Yeah, but look, thank you so much for sharing the football field with me. Thank you for everything. You got me into sport, into team sport. We've had so many great memories together.
Yeah. It's wonderful to be able to recap a little bit and also explain how life was on the sport after you left. Like we touched on that, but I'm sure we're going to get into it a little bit more down the track. But it was really nice. Really nice.
Thanks, Jarad.
Thank you.